All right. Matthew, thanks so much for joining me today.
My extreme pleasure. It's an honor knowing the trombone player and the influencer that you are.
Oh,
it's,
man.
it's such an honor to be able to do this.
Oh,
So,
I'm just happy I get to play with you.
cool, man. Cool.
Yeah. So we called this one
The Velocity Master.
and one of the reasons I went that route with the biking and everything is when I first became aware of you is on Instagram. I see you play some really wicked fast lick, like it was like a Frank Rosolino type of lick. And
Yeah.
I'd be like, wow. And then immediately after that, you're going for a bicycle or like a electronic skateboard or something like that.
Yeah, my electric skateboard. Yeah, well, cycling has always been a passion of mine alongside playing trombone, being a musician. I started back in the 80s when I was first stationed in Hawaii as a Marine. Really got into cycling out there. And ever since, I've been doing both, cycling and trombone. They're like my two passions. It keeps me grounded, keeps me outside, focusing on all the things that are fun in life. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's killing. I had to write the second half of that tune more chill because when I think of biking, I'm remembering when I was a kid in Tampa Bay, just biking up the bay shore, sun in the sky, palm trees.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it was going to the comic book store as a little kid. It's kind of more chill activity. So I thought that'd be kind of fun. Have you on the real aggressive kind of going for it part, and then me on the more relaxed part.
I can dig it. Cool. Yeah, biking. I tell you, being outside, being able to enjoy the outdoors, doing what you love. If it's playing trombone outside, if it's biking outside, you can't do any better than that.
Yeah, it's an important lesson to learn up here in Minnesota, especially during the winter.
Yes.
Have you found any winter sports that you embrace up here?
I ride year round. I get out. I put my spikes on the tires, and I get out when it's snowing. I may be the only brother on a bike in the cold weather, but it's something I really enjoy doing. So it doesn't keep me from cycling. The
Yeah.
it's no biggie.
That's a good lesson to learn because if you get outside when it starts to get cold, you acclimate, and then it's not as brutal.
No doubt.
I learned that through ice fishing myself. I'm out there on the frozen lake fishing.
Ice fishing. That's one thing I haven't tried yet, but being here in Minnesota, I definitely have to give that a shot.
Well, we should as soon as the lakes freeze over, hit me
Yeah,
up.
man,
and
let's
we'll go
do it.
fishing.
As long as we bring our bones.
All
Play a
right.
couple of notes on the ice, break the ice,
I gotta say I haven't done that yet, so that'll be a first for me.
Sounds good. Sounds fun.
Going back to that lick I heard you playing that reminded me of Frank Rosolino gets me thinking, like, who were some of your early influences, and then why'd you pick up trombone in the first place?
So I would have to say my main influence would be my older brother, Mike. He's a freelance bassist out of D.C., Washington, D.C. He really got me into music in the 70s. My brother started with funk bands down in the basement, having his friends over, and just hearing, experiencing and hearing them get together and socialize and all the harmony. And that really got me into music. Definitely Frank Rosolino. The first time I actually heard of Frank Rosolino, I was a young corporal in the Marine Corps. And a buddy of mine, his name was Greg Markowski, another trombone player. He really hit me to Frank Rosolino. He broke out the book, the Bible, I would like to call it, Fond Memories of.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, if you just look at the musical notation, you're like, there's no way I can even think about wanting to play this because, all the ledger lines and everything. But that really opened my eyes to trombone and really put that spark in me. And I was like, yep, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to be a trombone player. And that was, like I said, I was in the Marine Corps at the time. And I just, from that moment on, I just decided, you know, music's going to be my passion. It's going to be my journey throughout life. And like I said, that was in 1993.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do got to mention in that book, it's just amazing the virtuosity in this tune, but then also it's super chill is that Violets tune. I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
He's playing on that.
Absolutely.
Man.
Crazy. Frank was the man.
Yeah. So Frank Rosolino, was there anybody else that kind of influenced you to as a trombone player or as a musician?
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, I used to listen to a lot of James Brown. My dad had the records, you know, in the basement. He had 45s, he had LPs. My dad had a serious collection of artists from like Motown. The first time I ever heard Stan Getz was from an album that my dad had. I didn't even know my dad was, you know, into jazz, but he had all these albums downstairs. And on my free time or, you know, my bug out time, I'd go downstairs and just listen to all those albums. And, you know, that was another influence. All the albums that I got to listen to and want to emulate the people that I heard. And they weren't all trombone players, like Stan Getz, Charlie Parker, I mean, Dizzy Gillespie. These were cats that my dad would listen to in the 60s and 70s. And I guess it just rolled over into me, and I took it from there. But, yeah, those were some of the influences.
And then what made you pick up trombone in the first place?
My band director in elementary school.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah. You know, I was looking at all the instruments that were laid out on the tables. I saw the saxophone. I was like, I gravitated towards the sax. And my band director, he noticed, he wasn't my band director at the time, but my future band director, Mr. Dent, noticed that I had long arms. And he was like, I think you might want to consider playing the trombone. And from there, I went with that decision, and the rest is history.
Matthew, something I know about you from social media and also from knowing you a bit is that, you know, you spent some time in the armed forces. Do you want to just take us through that journey a little bit and maybe
Sure.
talk about how it influenced your trombone career?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have 20 years of active service in the military. My first 12 years, I was stationed in the Marine Corps. I did that for 12 years, loved it, got to travel the world. A lot of islands in the South Pacific. Met many wonderful friends, musicians, and colleagues. And after the 12 years in the Marine Corps, I decided to transition to the Navy because I wanted to focus a lot more on music, which was the case as a Navy musician. So I did my last 8 years in the Navy, stationed at Naval Station Norfolk in Little Creek. That's down in Virginia Beach area. I was there for 8 years. Awesome time. Met many wonderful musicians. So that equaled out my 20 years in the military. And after that, retired. Got my retirement, which is a good way to go as a musician. Get that pension, you know.
Yeah.
So 20 years in the military, got out for a stint, and decided to get my college degree in jazz performance. Auditioned to get into Rutgers, and from 2010 to 2015, I was at Rutgers University studying jazz performance with the very famous Conrad Erwig. He was he was my trombone professor. Once I graduated from Rutgers, we moved out here to Minnesota because my wife, she had always, you know, supported me throughout my military career. So I thought it was my turn to support her. Plus, she has family out here. So we moved from New Jersey to Minnesota. The rest is history. Absolutely love it here. Minnesota's such a beautiful place.
So Matthew, I think one of the most important things about me having a guest on is ask them to pass on some information and maybe some upcoming low brass players, trombone players. And I think it's especially cool, you went through the armed services, you went through military bands, and I know that there's a lot of low brass players out there that are kind of looking into maybe if that's a route that they'd like to go. Do you have any advice for those players?
Sure. There's wonderful opportunities in the military. Being a military musician, you have the opportunity to play in marching bands, ceremonial bands, concert bands, show bands, jazz ensembles. The same thing that our civilian counterparts do on the civilian sector, we pretty much do in the military. Like I said, we have concert band, jazz band, marching band, jazz ensemble, small units. You have the opportunity to be a unit leader. You have the opportunity to lead a band, conducting. The sky's the limit as far as musical growth for that individual, if they would choose that. I have no regrets. For 20 years, I was able to travel the world, meet people, learn, hone my musical skills while in the military. Have a really nice pension, VA loans, being able to buy a home and utilize the VA loan, another wonderful opportunity. The sky's the limit if the musical route through the military is the way you want to go. I highly recommend it. It's worked wonders for me, and I'm here because of that. So
yeah. I've got an interesting story. I won't say the name, but I've got a good buddy that's a trombone player that got focal dystonia. Oh. This was for an Air Force band, and they retrained him to. He does a lot of the production now for them.
Okay.
And then he also plays in the country band. They train him to play steel guitar in the country band. So
yes,
it's like you get. This is just my small experience in it, but it seems like you're full time in the military. You get injured or something happens, they're gonna help you. Train to stay in music and do something else.
Yeah, I had a similar situation in that I developed Bell's palsy on 4 different occasions, 3 times in the military. And the one thing I take from that is the support that I got from my mentors, my bosses in the military. They definitely gave me the support that I needed. I transitioned from being a trombone player for that short stint of time to conducting ceremonial bands, concert bands. I actually did some drum majoring. So the support was definitely there. That's something you really don't have to worry about. Because it's a brotherhood, It's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood. We're all family. Cohesion, the camaraderie is really strong. So support was always there. That's the main thing that I really loved about being a military musician is that support that I was able to get. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time talking about military bands. Do you have any other advice for upcoming trombone players?
Sure. Don't forget the ones that paved the way for us, the J.J. Johnsons, the Curtis Fullers. When you're playing your horn, the goal should be to create your own sound, but also emulate the sounds and the approaches that, the masters had with their instruments. That's one thing we tend to forget. We get all caught up in playing fast or, playing high. But the most important thing to me is, playing and approaching the music with your passion, with your heart, with your soul. I think that's important. So, yeah, emulating those masters from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and trying to recreate and build upon what they had. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can tell, from your playing, like I said, I hear you playing that fast lick on Instagram. I'm like, that sounds just like Frank Rosalino, I'm like, I can hear that there's that depth, that mastery in that playing just from the couple little clips I hear.
Oh,
I can tell
appreciate
you've been
that.
doing some transcribing and
Yeah.
checking people out.
Yeah, even this day, you know, being a 54-year-old musician, trombone player, you always go back to the cats that, you know, had that foundation, the cats that made the music what it is today. I think it's really important. Yeah.
So Matthew, what do you say we go record this tune?
Heck yeah, brother. Let's do it.
All right.